Alright, welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and here we are about to do a video on Lifestyle in Crusader Kings 3. So, Lifestyle in Crusader Kings 3, which you can access through here, is a way for you to interact with one of your main stats. Generally speaking, it's going to be most useful to interact with a lifestyle associated with your education, because you're going to gain a lot more experience. But don't feel like that's a strict rule. In this case, though, as Jarl Dyer, we have some pretty specific goals in mind. And one specific goal that we need is we need the befriend scheme. Because we need to go around just finding literally all of the high prowess characters, befriending them, and inviting them to our court. Because I want all of the greatest Viking warriors to just be my pal and go out there and kill for me. Because I wouldn't mind having, 7 or 8 or 9 Viking warrior knights with 30 prowess. That sounds like a good way to destroy the Byzantines if I need to. But now I have a choice. I could go ahead and stick with what we have here. In this case, we've taken Benevolent Intent and Firm Hand on a way down to Inspiring Rule, Praetorian Guard, True Ruler. That's all okay. Even though we are a diplomatic character, I think as Jarl Dyer, the main thing that we're going to be needing to be working on is martial lifestyle, because there's so much martial lifestyle in here we need. Because we do desperately need, for instance, Serve the Crown. Because if we are going to be conquering all the way out to Tamilakam, then we are going to need ways to increase our control really quickly. And the easiest way to increase your control really quickly is Serve the Crown. But that means I need to be in Martial, and then, while we're in Martial, we might as well get Engineered for Destruction. Oh yeah, Strategist would be really helpful if we're trying to do some big battles with rivers and straits. Jarl Dyer, unfortunately, even though you're not the greatest military commander in the universe, you're going to need to be one. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure I get my befriend stuff, while only having to spend 1 5-year stint here. Because every lifestyle, you have to be stuck in it for 5 years. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose Majesty Focus as my first lifestyle, because it's going to give me +1 prestige per month. And as a Viking, prestige is insanely useful. I'm also going to go ahead and click Reset Perks. This is going to give me 100 stress. We're going to be overwhelmed by stress, but we're going to go ahead and start a feast immediately. We reset our perks. We have 2 perks left, so we can take Befriend and Confidants. With Befriend and Confidants and getting down to the Befriend scheme power especially, we will be able to go around and just recruit anyone we want to our court. So I'm going to press C, and that's going to call up the character finder. I'm going to search everywhere, inside Diplo range, adult, male, not ruler, prowess. And now I can do a befriend scheme against Dan. And if I get it, then I'll be able to invite him to my court for free. And I'll get a 26 prowess knight for a meager investment of a couple of points in terms of my lifestyle. And so that's one of the things that you can do here in your lifestyles. It's not the only thing. I'm going to briefly go over each of the main lifestyle branches. The family hierarch here leads down to patriarch, which gives you a bonus to your fertility. Largely, the family hierarch is about governing family relations, but it does have this neat little friendship bonus, and this is incredibly powerful, especially as a smaller nation, where you need to rely on high quality courtiers more than affording powerful positions to powerful vassals. August is very strong. It's unfortunate we had to give up some stuff here, but it gets you tons of extra prestige. The bonus at the end is just literally +1 prestige per month. It also gives you access to writing history, which lets you get extra prestige or even renown, which is a pretty useful thing because there's not a lot of ways to get renown. And True Ruler can be really sick. If you have a high diplomacy character and you want to go around just diplo-vassalizing people, True Ruler is the easiest way to get there. Diplomat is sort of about breaking the rules of diplomacy in CK3, and so is also incredibly strong because it gives you forced vassalage, which lets you take entire duchies in forced vassalization, which, depending on what your natural, cultural, and religious makeup is, isn't as game breaking, not so important for the Norse, for instance. But for a lot of people, forced vassalage is really strong. Same with defensive negotiations, which lets you propose an alliance without a marriage. Normally, alliances require marriages, but this lets you cheat there. And flexible truces gives you shorter truces, which is also pretty bananas. And so think of diplomat basically as if the diplomacy of the game bothers you, this lets you cheat on it. In the martial lifestyles, strategist is all about getting extra strength out of your troops. Sappers is enormous in the early game because you might not be able to afford to have giant numbers of onagers, but you basically always have to have actual troop men-at-arms around. And Sappers lets you get siege speed out of them, which is insanely good. You also have organized march. Movement speed is probably the best single stat in the game, and so getting organized march online as early as possible is a really big deal. And then, like, everything else in the strategist is just chef's kiss when it comes to getting extra strength out of your troops. It even comes with a Casus Belli discount, in case you're worried about that for some reason. Overseer is really good because it does have control growth. Whenever you conquer a county, the control is going to get slashed, usually to 0, if you're conquering cross culture and faith. And so control is a really big deal. If you're conquering new territories, you need to get it up and going as quickly as you can. And that's where Overseer comes in. And Overseer, of course, really lets you juice control growth, but you usually won't go down there. You don't need to. The other thing that I want to emphasize that I haven't yet explicitly said is that you don't always have to go down to the end of a lifestyle tree for it to be useful. Sometimes you do that, sometimes you don't. It just depends on what you're looking for. So like with Jarl Dyer, for instance, if once we're done with Flatterer, we might go pick up a 1 or 2 of these until we can switch out, because there's that 5-year timer. But as soon as we can, we'll switch over to Marshal, and then we might end up taking Serve the Crown and Strict Organization at some point. But we'll do that when we're ready to conquer other territories, and then in the meantime, we'll focus on Strategist, because Gallant is largely about making your ruler into a personal supreme general, and we're gonna have friends to do that. We're mostly just gonna lead troops when it's a raid, so that way we can get the Fire and Blood event, and then the rest of the time we're gonna let our friends take all of the credit. But Stalwart Leader is useful if you're gonna be leading your own troops, because otherwise you're gonna die a lot, and this does help you not die a lot. And if you just find yourself with a disgusting number of really good knights, Household Guard lets you put them to good use. So if you're doing like dire super friends, then getting down to Household Guard can be a pretty LMAO way to do it. Maybe we will go that route, but Sappers is so strong and Household Guards is pretty far down. But it comes after Chivalric Dominance, so I don't know. We'll see what prowess guys we get, because this is really not fair. In the Stewardship lifestyle, we have Avaricious, which is going to be focused around getting you more gold. Golden Obligations is usually the easiest way to get that money, but it does depend on having a big family, because Golden Obligations will allow you to demand payment for hooks. If you are the leader of your family, if you're the dynasty head, you're going to get weak hooks on a lot of characters, and then you can demand payments from all of them, which can just give you thousands of gold out of nowhere. If you are running a high dread character, Fearful Troops can save you an absolute fortune, because if you're in a maximum dread character, Fearful Troops says minus 50% men-at-arms maintenance, which is an enormous fortune that you can skip out on if you're playing high dread. And then of course Avaricious is plus 15% holding taxes constantly, and so this entire thing is just about gold. It's not the only way to get gold, but if you're not playing a character who can do raiding, then Avaricious is actually a pretty solid option. Architect lets you spend gold if you've got it. Anything that reduces construction cost is really good when you have tons of money to put to work. Same with construction time. And same with centralization. Development growth in Realm Capital as a flat bonus means that you can grow past your development growth cap a lot faster, and therefore tech a lot faster. And so if you are in a peaceful development character, centralization is kind of where you want to be. We'll show some of these other lifestyles off a little more with maybe an air of Jarl Dire. And you can get down to divided attention, which is almost it's almost at the very end, but +2 domain limit is no joke. That's a huge upgrade to your strength. Administrator is like sort of the Cao Cao perk. It's the thing that lets you steal the throne from your liege. And so if you are way more capable than your monarch, go meritocracy, Littlefinger, and take their throne. Soon Forgiven is actually secretly really strong, because getting Tyranny is typically kind of annoying because it's a blanket opinion modifier. Don't think you can't ever get Tyranny. It's totally fine to get a little bit. But if you have a monthly flat Tyranny reduction, you can be a really scary tyrant. And you can get your vassals to do a lot more things for you by revoking things and giving them away. And Soon Forgiven can make it so that your heirs don't get overthrown in a civil war because all of the vassals hated you. But a lot of the bonuses in Administrator really are just about getting opinion bonuses from your vassals. And so if you're having any sort of stability problems, then Administrator is also a really useful way to handle vassals if you're not intending on going full dread. In Intrigue, we have Schemer. Schemer is the thing you want to go into if you want to murder people. But it's also useful for giving you the Fabricate Hook scheme. You can use it to literally fabricate hooks, but that costs more gold than you'll get from selling the hook back. But you can use Fabricate Hooks if you can identify somewhere that there might be a real secret. Like if you notice, hey, somebody's brother died mysteriously and then they inherited the throne. I wonder if that guy assassinated his brother. Maybe you should use Fabricate Hooks there. Because if you can get hooks and sell them with golden obligations, you can get a lot of money pretty quickly. Abduct scheme is also really useful because you can abduct people and then ransom them. And of course, Schemer is just disgusting because 25% hostile scheme power on top of 25% hostile scheme success chance on top of 30% murder scheme success power means that if you have like all of the schemer tree available to your character, you can murder almost with impunity whoever you want to, which is one of the reasons that intrigue characters are so scary, because they're very difficult to oppose. You can just murder whatever sort of political opposition looks like it's forming. Seducer is, of course, Seducer. If your goal is to have a whole lot of lovers and a whole lot of illegitimate children, then Seducer is your friend. The mechanical big bonus here is Mortal Adoration. If you are worried about getting assassinated for whatever reason, like you're playing Heistine, Mortal Adoration can protect you by encouraging your lovers to save you and get in the way of an arrow or whatever. But other than that, it really is mostly just focused on seduction. And so if you have a lustful character and you want to just play a lustful character and seduce people, Seducer is a way to do that really, really effectively. Torturer is the dread line. This is the other thing that makes Intrigue kind of OP, because you can get down to Forever Infamous minus 1000% dread decay. You'll be at 100 dread forever. And if you're at 100 dread forever, then all your vassals will do whatever you want them to. Because if they don't, then they may end up in your torture chambers. Because you have a 50% imprison chance bonus, intimidated vassal tax, terrified vassal tax. Also, Thriving in Chaos is pretty reasonable. It's a little scary to be on level 2 stress. But if you want to, you can go up to level 2. But level 1 stress is largely cosmetic. And so don't be afraid of staying at level 1 stress for +4 martial, +4 intrigue, +6 prowess. That's a lot for one perk. And of course, Dark Insights, you can go up to 5 intrigue and 5 prowess from torturing people. But yeah, Torturer, this is a really, really strong line if you want to be evil. Whole of Body is like the medicine line. The finale perk, the lifestyle trait, gives you a medium health boost. And so if you want to live into your 90s, Whole of Body is like the thing for you. It also gives you a big fertility bonus, which depending on when you're getting it, if you're a woman, might not help you. Women cannot have children past the age of 45 in CK3. But if you're Jarl Dyer and you're 75, 20 extra fertility isn't nothing. And minus 20% stress gain, of course, is just like always good unless you're trying to run a high stress character. Then before that, there's also Healthy, which is another medium health boost. Know Thyself, which is a really interesting one. You actually get a pop-up that warns you when you're a year away from death, roughly. And then you can make some end-of-life preparations in regards to your succession. Without Know Thyself, you just die. You're just playing the game, and then you get a death pop-up screen. And so if your succession is not settled, oops. And if you're trying to run a high-stress character, then I would actually recommend very strongly to take Mental Resilience. Time between mental breaks plus 3 years means that you can get the, like, oh my god, you're at 200 stress, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a heart attack or kill your sacrifice your firstborn? You don't get those events very often if you have Mental Resilience, so just picking that up for 3 points is pretty reasonable. Scholar is all about development. You get plus 35% cultural fascination progress, 20% of counselor's primary skills added to your own. You can even use buy claim interaction. So if you have a lot of faith, you can just buy claims on enemy territories. And plus 2 learning per level of devotion can be a lot. You can get like plus 8 or plus 10 devotion as a Norse just by making human sacrifices a lot. And so don't discount the power of Scholar in regards to getting you tons of extra piety through having high learning. But Theologian is really the one that's focused on piety. The lifestyle trait is plus 20% monthly piety flat, but also plus 3 learning. But I think the important one here most of the time is going to be profit. If you're intending on creating a new faith, then you want to go down to profit for sure. But if you're having issues with your realm priest because like you guys just hate each other and you're afraid of assassinating them, then you can go down to church and state. Plus 50 realm priest opinion is a lot. It basically guarantees their loyalty, and therefore if they're a vassal paying taxes to you, church and state guarantees that a lot of money is going to be coming to you. All right, so that's lifestyles here in Intro to CK3 here on We Play Games. We're getting pretty close to letting Jarl Dyer out of the pen, but there are a couple other things I want to talk about before we really get going. All right, that's Walker. Take care.